information that you are about to hear. It's very disturbing coming out of Pontiac, Michigan, pertaining to 3 children that were living in squalid conditions. The mother left them there, don't know where she was staying, but I will bring you more information pertaining to her ideology and what she told the courts a few years ago pertaining to her situation. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeGanji 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. This is live number 1. Thank you so very much.
Arrived at in 2022, but the mother still would not allow him to see the kids. So that's what we've learned so far, at least preliminarily. We're going to go back and double check all these timelines and that kind of information. So he, in essence, had lost contact with the kids. That's where that's, so we've had questions about that. The other questions that we've had was, who were the other people potentially dropping food at the house other than the mother? So far, again, the investigation is pretty layered and complex, given that it's going over years. But it appears those are companies, like an Instagram or a DoorDash, things like that. So, so far, none of the people that were coming to the house had any awareness that there were kids inside or the situation in which they were delivering to. Obviously, the question was somebody dropping food off knowing there's kids there? No information at this point leads us to believe that. The kids were forensically interviewed with our partners at Care House. They've already been seen once at McLaren. We intend to have them at a much more detailed both physical and mental health kind of checkup, if you will, that will happen hopefully this week. When our detectives saw them at their interview at Care House, they were already making amazing progress, having had some tender love, having had some supportive care, having been put in new clothing and some basic hygiene. The one detective said that the little girl was talking quite a bit. So that's super exciting to see that happening. And as it relates to being in the house, the only one of the 3 that ever came out was the young boy, and he came out twice. Once because he wanted to feel the grass, which by itself is heartbreaking, and a second time to check the mail. So you wouldn't do this to an animal, let alone your child. So, just to hear that he came out to touch the grass is just crushing, soul crushing on so many levels. As it relates to the house, we have obviously released pictures. I'll get my technical expert up. You've already seen some of these pictures. I rolled that little mouse, but it didn't want to cooperate. So inside of the home, as I had mentioned with these pictures, trash was piled, in some places 3 and 4 foot high. Everything was covered with feces and trash. The toilet had become non-functional, and the bathtub was filled with feces. That's the kind of situation these poor kids had been living in for years, not just hours or days, for years. And so when you have the complete lack of hygiene, a complete breakdown of basic living conditions that they were subjected to. And to get a little deeper into that, detectives have narrowed down the initial abandonment they believe to be somewhere in the spring to summer of 2020. Obviously, COVID played a little part in the disconnect potentially with schools and school communications. In 2020, the mother dropped off some trash bags, gloves, and Febreze, and that was about the last thing related to hygiene. 2020, in the height of COVID. Okay. Towards the end, the children apparently were getting a loaf of bread dropped off that was intended.
Let me go back to that one more time. Hold on one second, everybody.
And Febreze. And that was about the last thing related somewhere in the spring to summer of 2020. Obviously, COVID played a little part in the disconnect potentially with schools and school communications. In 2020, the mother dropped off some trash bags, gloves, and Febreze. And that was about the last thing related to hygiene.
2020.
2020. In the height of COVID. Okay. Towards the end, the children apparently were getting a loaf of bread dropped off that was intended to last 3 to 4 days.
Okay, we're going to backtrack just a bit in between. Welcome to the Vault Excel. The fact that she dropped off gloves, trash bags, and Febreze tells you something, that the place was in disarray even then, okay? Even then. As far as hygienic products, she has not dropped off deodorant, soap, laundry detergent, nothing else since 2020, except for food through DoorDash and mobile services to drop off food. Because I asked the same question. I've been commenting under certain articles on the Newsbreak app. Follow me over there on the Newsbreak app, the Vault. Dropping off food. Well, we now know she was ordering food. So this is where this is a problem. You have your children living in squalor. You've left them left them unattended. You're also going to find out she had another kid that stays with his father. This man had no idea. The man that this sheriff is speaking of, or chief is speaking of, he had got out of prison and wanted contact with his children, but couldn't get contact because she wouldn't allow it. Why? I don't know. Don't know what he went to prison for. Maybe that had something to do with it. Not sure. But the fact we're talking about 2020, we're now into 2025. Look how long it went. No school. Nobody's reporting anything. Nobody's calling to ask why the children aren't in school. Here in Tennessee, your kids can't miss school. So I don't know how they rock up there in Michigan and other states, but this doesn't shock me when it comes to major cities in major, big boy, what I call big boy cities like Philadelphia, New York. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares about anything. That's the reason why this story went on as long as it did. And we have heard that this was probably going to happen, that you're going to hear some horrific stories of missing children, deprived children coming out of COVID because nobody saw anything, heard anything, and everybody had an excuse to keep their kids at home even when school started back. So, obviously on so many levels, the conditions are horrendous and the situation terrible. So what we're trying to do in the meantime, and as it relates specifically to the case, the preliminary report has been turned over to the prosecutor. We're adding some more stuff for them. They're in the process of determination. When I heard about this, I called her on the weekend and let her know it was coming, and she has her staff queued up, and they're in that process. As it relates to the kids, the first thing we wanted to do is obviously get them safe and to get them clean and get them enclosed. And I will say we have one of the most generous communities, I think, in the world. We put on there that we needed clothing, and this is just a tiny sample of what we've received. At the office of another office of ours, we have bags and bags. So we don't need any more clothing. We greatly appreciate it. The family and the kids greatly appreciate it. And so we're kind of pivoting now to financial support. And we have put up a link, if you will, to the charity Mission Oakland. And 100% of it will go to the kids. Unlike some of the traditional fundraising methodologies you see out there, they take a percentage. 100% of this will go to the kids. What I am asking is, again, our generous viewers and listeners out there and readers, we're looking for a law firm that would set up a trust fund so that we can take 100% of what we receive in donations for these kids. Very good idea.
And put it in a trust that can be administered, that can take care of maybe their medical bills, mental health visits, and if there's any overage, maybe set some money aside for their future education. This can be a long-term situation, and so we'd like to be able to kind of hand the baton to a trust fund that will manage it in a way that makes sure it's just the kids. Not suggesting anybody else would do anything with it, but we're looking for a mechanism where we can hand this off. So if there's a firm out there that would like to set up a trust fund for these kids, then we'll deposit any receipts that we have. In a very short period of time, I think we've already got $15,000 to $20,000 in on our donations. So we're going to obviously have some real dollars to be able to give these kids, but that won't make up for the 3-4 years that they've been subjected to these conditions. I've said this more than once, but you see those videos of terrible conditions on commercials, and it pulls at your heartstrings. Imagine maybe by 10 living in what we showed you, and then play it out over years, not days or weeks.
Exactly.
So it's hard to wrap your head around this one. So there's going to be a lot of long-term, I think, mental health and educational needs and things that we want to try with the family to get to that point. The other thing I'd like to mention, the family is asking, apparently, some of the folks that are now involved with the kids that didn't know, that's another question we've asked.
Exactly.
They didn't know what was going on with the kids. They had been told by her that somebody else was babysitting the children or other kinds of things. So they were unaware what was happening so far, according to our investigation. But
let's stop right there, because this is another problem we have. Everyone's entitled to privacy. You don't want to be bothered with people. Maybe you don't get along with your family, blah, blah, blah. But this is, once again, how children and others, adults, disabled adults, elderly people, slip through the cracks because no contact with other people. And this is why we hear these horrible stories of people being unalive, found dead, found discarded somewhere in a house, attic, backyard, wherever, because there's no contact with other people. This is the version she gave people. Oh, well, they're over here. Somebody's babysitting them. But at some point, you should know, if you've been dealing with this person and you know that they have 3 kids, 4 kids, and you never see the children anymore, and every time that person comes around, they don't have their children. You mean to tell me it didn't dawn on you to call police? This is why I'm saying this is bullshit to me. I get so sick of these fucking stories because they don't make any sense. If you were dealing with her at one point and you knew she had children, you stopped seeing pictures of her children. Let's say on Facebook, she's not posting them. She's not bringing them around, but she's coming around. It didn't dawn on you to say, I better call the DC, Department of Human Services. DCS. She's on Facebook, IG, but I don't see her kids. And see, that's another thing. Did she ever post to Facebook or IG? Because somebody's going to ask, well, how are the children? Why don't you post pictures of your children? So did she ever go to social media since 2020? Because if she was on social media, COVID up until now, I wouldn't put those kids with nobody related to her. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that because this doesn't make any sense. And you all are going to place these kids with some people who may have known that something was up with this woman, mental issues. You're going to hear later from an article that one of the baby daddies said, I never knew her to live like this or be this way. Well, you didn't know her. The fact that she would leave her kids alone. And let me tell you, it's a very nice townhouse. Queen did her research yesterday. I did the Google search of the neighborhood. It's a very nice neighborhood. It's not filthy, it's not nasty, there's not trash, there's not people loitering, hanging out. I took a couple of blocks around the circle, the drive. It goes into townhouses, it goes into single living houses. It's a nice neighborhood. Let me make that clear. It is a nice neighborhood. Not that it matters, but it does matter. Because somebody had to have known something wasn't right. And why I say this is for the obvious reason. It stunk. Even DoorDash going up to the door, you didn't smell any smells, which naturally is none of your business. You're just dropping off the food, but you get what I'm saying. No neighbors didn't smell anything because it looked like they're townhouses. And I'm going to show you pictures and give you an outline of what it looks like even on the inside. But something is off as usual because we're now talking about strangers in the neighborhood, DoorDash services dropping off food. You had to smell something. Where were the family members to say, hey, lady, where are your children? You got too many kids and we don't never see you with the kids. So was she going around her family. Because if she was going around her family, then that means you all knew that these children were absent. And you should have found that strange.
What they're asking is they feel like they're being hounded by media outlets. So they'd like to get some privacy for their kids and the grandkids and the aunts, and those folks want just a little bit of a safe bubble, if you would. So they asked that, which of course we're going to do. Now, on another front, all of us are asking, how the heck did this happen? How did we lose 3 kids? How did they fall through the system? The community, the relatives, the schools, how did no one know? And the easiest answer we could come up with, and I put on my old legislative hat, and thank heavens we've got a person on our staff that also has worked in the legislature, and we've examined the school code, and there's some gaps that we think in part allowed this to happen. And so what we're going to suggest is there needs to be some changes in state law. Right now, basically, there is no specific duty required that is triggered by certain actions. So what I mean by that is a school district, in this case, received a request for records from another school in Pontiac, but no verification the children ever moved to that school. And so at some point, when they didn't show up, they were just dropped off the enrollment of the school that sent the transcripts. So no one knew that they were nowhere. And so what we're...
So where's the school that sent the request? Well, where were they coming from? Let me rephrase that. Where were they transferring from? Another school in Pontiac or another city or town in Michigan? Because this debacle's been going on since possibly 2020 or 2019. So she's been at this residence a little while. So where did she live before that, pertaining to this transferring of school records?
We're proposing, and we're already communicating to a potential bill sponsor, is some amendments to the school code that will close that communication gap so that before a child is unenrolled, they have to obtain written confirmation that child's someplace else. That doesn't happen now. And that's what happened here, it appears. It's still, again, being investigated because we're going back years and trying to check records. But it looks like based on that request for records, neither of them knew where that child was and presumed, I guess, that the other one had the children. So the other thing, this is the specific language, but it goes into basically filling that gap, closing that hole so that if a child doesn't show up at a school for a period of time, then it triggers a follow-up where they have to communicate with either a truancy officer or law enforcement to begin an examination of what happened to these kids. Where are they? It's unbelievable to think that we've got 3 kids that fell off everybody's map for years. So that goes to the second part, as I said, within 20 days, the sending school that sent those records has to notify the truancy officer if they have not received written confirmation that that child is someplace else safe. So it shortens the window. First trigger is 10 days, second trigger is 20 days. And obviously, this can be worked on, amended, or changed by the legislature. We're just suggesting there's got to be some accountability measures so we don't have kids fall through the cracks in such a horrific way. And that is the direct donation link to the children and their needs. So that's kind of the basics of where we are. As I said, we're going to have some follow-up. We're going to check much more deeply the children's physical and mental well-being. Obviously, we're going to need to get an educational assessment on where they are. Without any education for a period of years, you hear how many kids across this country fell way behind from 1 year of COVID. Imagine where these kids are. And so, we don't have a clue. Where are they educationally in terms of acuity and also mental health and all the developmental things that happen in those critical years? We don't know. And they're going to have needs with that. So it's a big undertaking, a big process, and one of the most tragic long-term abuse situations I've ever seen. I've been in this a long time. So that's kind of where we sit. Okay.
Well, as it was reported years ago with COVID, imagine how many stories you're going to hear pertaining to children who are missing, adults missing because of no contact with other people, easy way for people to knock off somebody, abuse, neglect someone, and nobody has an idea. So now imagine how many children are living like this in America, either attending school or not attending school. No way you could be attending school living like this because you're going to smell. You're talking about not getting your hair combed, you're not bathing, you're not having clean clothes. So that would draw attention to students, staff at a school. It should anyway. Hey, I need to talk to you. What's going on? I realize, you're coming to class, you have an odor, you're not combing your hair. Are there problems at home? And that would open Pandora's box to the child revealing, yes, hey, mommy's not home, we're not eating, blah, blah, blah. One loaf of bread dropped off for a couple of days. Anybody who has a big household knows bread goes fast, milk goes fast, eggs go fast. And when you see the pictures of how these children were living, and one picture looked like there was a pet in there because it looked like, dog-sized fecal matter. Now, naturally, it was dark, probably because it sat there so long, not to be just disrespectful, but just trying to give you a synopsis of one of the pictures I saw a little while ago before going live. I thought, well, did they have a dog in there? But then I had to think, oh, it sat for a while. It turns dark naturally. This is disgusting. Fecal matter in the bathtub. Toilet overran with fecal matter running out of the toilet. Toilet inoperable. Bathtub inoperable. 4 feet high of trash, debris. And I guess so, because mommy didn't leave trash bags for them to put the food and trash into. So the apartment became a dumping ground. And it's a nice apartment. As I said, it's a very nice neighborhood. Very nice condo. They're condos, excuse me. So then we got to ask that question. How does she afford the condo? Did she get any type of rental assistance for the condo through HUD, voucher? You're going to hear that she had financial problems. Landlord hadn't heard from her since December. Behind on her rent since October. It is now February. What the hell is going on? Landlord, you never went by the apartment to knock on the door to speak to her directly? Or you just talking to her through emails and telephone calls? And another thing I don't understand, if she was renting from this company and she didn't own the condo, you didn't send pest control monthly like most apartment management companies? Most apartments send pest control once a month to keep down roaches, bed bugs, ants. So we're talking about going into 5 years now at least. You didn't think to send pest control to this residence. So then I have to ask, you didn't send pest control to any of the people renting from you. Put it together, everybody.
Questions?
What did mom say or do to make her children so scared of leaving the house for years?
They were just scared. I don't know that she said anything particular that she's admitted to us, but they were afraid to leave. I know that much.
What's the latest with mom? I know the prosecutor's looking at this, but where is she? What's going on?
In custody with us.
Is she cooperating?
Yeah, I mean, she's talking to us, but we've got some follow-up secondary things that we want to ask her based on more information that's come to our attention since this originally, surprisingly, came to our attention when we were thinking we were going to check on her welfare and found 3 kids
Any idea on the state of her mental health?
I have no information or background that she's got any mental health challenges, but obviously that won't be all part of the case.
Issue message for everyone who's stepped up to make donations, whether that's been financial or all these supplies that have come in.
A heartfelt, warm thank you to everybody that has stepped up. I mean, as I said, in very short order, we got a ton of clothing, so much we had to say, okay, we got enough of that. Let's pivot to other ways we can help, and people have jumped in on that. I honestly think we have one of the most generous communities in the world, and I've seen it time and time again. You know, I mean, this goes back more than 20 years when I went to Ground Zero after 9/11. And so many police and fire families were decimated. And at that time, there was no mechanism. They immediately had their livelihood cut off, and these families had no income whatsoever. And so I started raising money in this area for the New York firefighters and police officers. And we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in very short order and gave it to those families before they got any assistance from anyone else. That's this community. That's the heart and soul of this community. So, you know, I just say thank you.
What about the landlord? Usually when you're renting, the landlord or somebody will come in and do a maintenance check.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, the landlord's the one that actually called in a welfare check. You know, he said he hadn't heard from who he thought was the tenant for a period of time, and she hadn't paid her rent since October. So
Yeah, well, that's a few months ago.
Typically, a landlord
That's not a few
would
years.
respond if there's complaints about something not working. But he was unaware of any of this. He actually sent us there to check on what he thought was his tenant.
Okay, I still have a problem with this. The doors are, townhouses are door up, then there's doors down. So anybody with a door down should be able to smell odor coming from the door up. There's no way you have an apartment full of fecal matter and trash, and that smell is not permeating out of the door. Miss me with this bullshit, okay? So I hear all what you're saying. Oh, well, nobody called to tell us that the air conditioning's broke or the stove is broke. But you can smell fecal matter through walls. It's just sheetrock, okay? It's just sheetrock. That's all a home is made of, sheetrock. So, come on now. You're talking about years of filth. That filth that got in there is not from October. That's just when she stopped paying the damn rent. You're talking about at least 5 years of filth. So you want me to believe nobody in those neighboring doors did not smell filth, trash, fecal matter, urine through the walls, through the doors. And I think most of you know who have watched Hoarders over the years, what happens when you have fecal matter and urine build up for years. It will cause the foundation to cave in. Come on with it, Queen, because somebody think you're slow out here. Have you seen what happens to a bathroom floor? Years of fecal matter. Okay? Feel free to go back and check out some of the older content from Hoarders, and you will see what fecal matter can do to a floorboard, what urine can do to a floorboard. So I'm going to say it one more damn time. No neighbors smelled any foul odors coming from that apartment. You know they did. Now stop this nonsense.
And that's when we found the kids.
And what's going to happen to that apartment or that townhouse right now? I mean, is it dangerous for the people that are, you know, next door? It's a compact area.
Yeah, that will probably be up to the health department and other folks that will have to make a determination of how they move that forward. I mean, when we processed that scene for evidentiary value, our folks were wearing hazmat suits.
Thank you.
I mean, on every level, it's a biohazard.
Thank you.
How about any debriefing for the officers who found that? They go through any kind of debriefing? That's got to be kind of hard for them.
Horrific. I mean, again,
Hey,
I've been in
beauty.
this business a long time. The worst thing for our folks, our men and women on the front lines, is when they have an issue with kids. because most of them, bring that home in a way that they look at their kid and they see the other kid in this situation and they just begin to, personalize it, and it tears them up. So thankfully we've got a great peer-to-peer program, and that was initiated immediately once we learned what the situation was, to both debrief them and make sure that they have some opportunity to process what they were involved in and how to, in a healthy way, move forward. After you see some of the terrible things we see in our world, homicides and abuse, you'll never unsee it, but you have to find a healthy way to process it and then take another step forward and go back out and continue to do your job.
Were comfort dogs like Callie brought into the kids at the hospital and things, and how did that go?
Yes, I think 2 came right away, and that's been, here Callie sits in this corner. Our comfort dogs have been involved in so many tragedies. When I started this program, I thought, well, this will be helpful here and there. It's almost a daily thing. It is daily if you consider how it helps our people. But, think where these dogs have been. They've been to Oxford. They've been to the splash pad scene. They've been to suicides. They've been to, one thing after another. And I think they make an amazing difference.
Do you have any information at all as to why this mom would do this for years to her children?
Not at this point. They're going to, again, try to ask her some more questions. That's all part of the investigation, how or why. I don't think there's never going to be an answer any of us can understand or accept on the why. How do you? Anybody that's a parent looks at their kids and thinks, what a blessing, what a gift. And to allow this to happen, I don't think anyone, whether you have kids or not, will ever wrap your head around. But, maybe we can get some insight what she was thinking, but it will never satisfy any of us.
Do we know where she was living while they were living there?
Elsewhere in Pontiac.
Like a friend's house? Was it a family member?
Where was she living?
Who was she living with?
Yeah.
I probably won't get into that.
Oh, Lord. Give me a break.
It seems
Oh,
kind of elaborate that she's
This is
going
ridiculous.
all these lengths trying to hide it from her family and all this. What stands out about this?
exactly. Very elaborate.
Yeah, the complexity of it, the length of it, on so many levels, it's just hard, again, to wrap your head around. If you don't want to be a parent, then there's mechanisms in place. There's methodologies to either give your child up for adoption
Or stop having sex.
members.
Or stop having sex.
There's never an excuse to abuse your child or abandon your kids. There just isn't. There's so many people that are just wanting a child in their life out there. And I know there's, a lot of kids that haven't been adopted, but anything's better than this. If that's not in your wheelhouse to be a parent,
Right.
then,
Don't
let
have kids.
someone else have a chance at that role.
Well, you should say don't have sex. That sounds cruel, but it's the truth.
Very
Come on now.
disturbing story out of Oakland County, Michigan. There, as now the mom is in custody after this investigation showed just horrible living situation for these 3 children out in Pontiac, Michigan. There, so again, Oakland County Sheriff's Office putting this out there, saying we have arrested a Pontiac woman in a child abuse case.
Been arrested. The mom's been
On
arrested.
this case, saying throughout my extensive career in this field, I have never encountered a scenario as dire and prolonged as this one, involving abandonment, neglect, and abuse of the highest power there. So just a sad story.
Okay, they're ending that. So we're going to go back. They don't show the picture of the woman, which another network has shown her picture. Somebody has gotten wind of her picture and posted it to YouTube in their video. We're going to leave it right there so you can get a general idea of what the children were living in. And then I'm going to show you pictures of the townhouse. Just general pictures of the area itself. Excuse me, everybody. 660 Lydia Lane, Pontiac, Michigan, is where this atrocious act took place, okay? So I'm going to show you just an area view of what the townhouses look like. Hold on, push my other monitor back. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm working with dual things, so just bear with me. Okay, this is a general idea of what the townhouses look like. This is somebody else's townhouse, but hers is 660. So you get a general idea of what they look like, okay? So you have a door down here, which I guess will go up to that apartment. They're either walk-ups or walk-down. And they also have basements too, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom condos. That's a picture of one of them where you walk up the stairs, okay? Different seasons, summertime. Back of the property, they have private garages where they can park their car, garbage cans in the back of the property. So trash is available, but naturally you would need to have plastic bags to put your trash in, to put the trash into the trash bin. So this is the back of the property. Each person has his or her own private garage to park their car. Okay. I don't know. I hope I'm showing you the right ones. Yeah, I think this is it, 656. Okay, so this is another apartment, 656. So this is a general, another apartment. Naturally, everyone decorates differently, of course, but they've got skylights. This is Christmas time, I believe. I don't know if it's Christmas or not, but maybe not be Christmas, but 3 windows, as you see, facing the street. There's no other apartments across the street. When you go to Google, you will see those trees. You can park, it's a curved and trees. You can park your car right where those trees are. So when I take you back to show you the apartments, you'll see the 3 windows of the condos. But this is the inside of one of the condos that's, probably similar to what she was living in, okay? So that's a walk-up apartment, as you see, because you see the height of the trees and then you see the door. So this is a walk-up apartment. So this will probably be a layout similar to this woman's apartment condo where she was living with the children. And as you see, the landing there where you can walk up, I'm assuming to the upper level. Just giving you all a general idea of what the condos look like. So they're very nice, okay? Very wide corridors to walk. Sorry, that's some older stuff. Okay, so this is these are the condos, okay? Where this atrociousness took place. So you just give you a general idea of how they're made. You either walk up to your apartment to an upper level or walk down. So as you see, you have stairs going up and then you have doors down. So each one either walks down or walks up into the main level. What is so atrocious about this story is the obvious. Nice neighborhood. As I said, when you go into Google search and you take the trip down the street, it's nothing but single living houses with garages and townhouses similar to this. They're made a little different, but basically it's a nice community. So I'm trying to understand, one, how was she able to afford the rent? Because the rent varies to about maybe $1,600 for a 3-bedroom, if I'm not mistaken. So naturally, you go on Zillow or to get a definite of how much it would cost to live in these apartments. They give you the reviews, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. I'm just trying to understand what the hell happened here. Well, what the hell happened here? Yes, it's a very decent property. As I say, go to the Google search and put in 660 Lydia, Pontiac, Michigan, Lydia Lane, and you'll take an area view of the street, and you'll see it's nice, it's clean. There's no trash. There's no broke down automobiles, or it's not a what I would call a bad place. It looks like more like a starter community. It's been around since 2003, if you're curious. This place was built in 2003. Now, you look at it, you wouldn't tell it's been around 20-something years, but that's how long this property has been around, 20-plus years. So it's very nice. I mean, the neighborhood is nice. You look at the Google search, you can see, people walking their dogs and walking around, taking their walks. It's a very nice area. So it's a great place. So what the hell happened? DoorDash was dropping off food. So we have food services, ride services dropping off food. Naturally, they're not going to call the police or complain about a door smelling. So we didn't hear of anybody else dropping off food. We also wonder if she was on social media, why nobody noticed her not being around her children, bringing her children around. So if she was on social media, did anybody question, hey, where are your children? What the hell are we talking about here? I'm going to read you a little bit of information pertaining to how this story jumped off and came to be. Welcome to the Vault Excel. One second, everybody. Okay. Trying to bring the story that had the best information. Detroit News is the source, everybody. Sorry about that. They took the pictures off. Hold on one second. Hold on. Woo, they show so many commercials. Lord have mercy. This is atrocious, because I'm not understanding what the hell's going on here.
Living every day and not see something like this reported sooner. Just knowing that I'm told that the facilities, it wasn't working in the home, and to have that as an alternative solution in your home where you're living at, using the tub, it's pretty heartbreaking that the kids would have to live under those conditions. I know back in the summer we did get a resident in this area stating that someone was stealing packages. I've heard of over here off of porches, and now that I hear about this situation, I'm just a little shaken here, but I'm like, was it one of those just trying to get some help, try to get a package or something, to try to get something to eat or something to play with, a toy?
Okay, so those were pictures of the property, how bad it looked. This is atrocious information coming out of Pontiac, Michigan. One second, everybody. These screens keep jumping off. A Pontiac mother, who authorities say abandoned her young children in their home for several years, was arrested Friday. The 34-year-old woman, whose identity was not released, left her children on the 600 block of Lane to live in absolute squalor, said the Oakland County Sheriff's Office release. They were surviving on weekly drop-offs of prepared food. Sorry about that. The children, a 15-year-old boy, 12 and 13-year-old girls, police said, were taken to a hospital. Oh, sorry, my screen jumped off. Sorry about that, everybody. I got a lot going on. Forgive me. So we got a 15-year-old boy, a 12 and 13-year-old girls were living in this house. They were taken to the hospital for evaluation and placed in the custody of a relative by Child Protective Services. The Pontiac mother is in Oakland County Jail. Sheriff Michael Bouchard said in the release that the conditions in which the children were forced to survive were unconscionable. Throughout my extensive career in this field, I have never encountered a scenario as dire and prolonged as this one, involving abandonment, neglect, abuse of the highest order. This situation would be deemed deplorable and intolerable for an animal, and it is utterly unacceptable for 3 children. They have been deprived of any interaction with their mother and have not received an education for years. The far-reaching consequences of this abuse must be acknowledged. We look forward to presenting this case to the prosecutor and ensuring that this mother faces the consequences of her actions. The children were in soiled clothing, their hair was matted, and their toenails were several inches long, making it hard for them to walk. Police said the children did not know how to use personal hygiene items or how to flush a toilet. Deputies were called by the landlord Friday afternoon to perform a welfare check of the occupants of the home, police said. The landlord said he had not heard from the mother since December, rent wasn't paid since October, and he was concerned about the family's well-being. Deputies searched the home for occupants and discovered the 3 children. The girls had locked themselves in the bathroom but opened the door when they were asked. Photographs of the home show piles of debris in the home. Police described the scene as in deplorable shape, with garbage piles as high as 4 feet in some rooms and mold and human waste found throughout the house. The toilet was overflowing and feces were found in the bathtub. The 15-year-old said he and his sisters had been living alone in the home since 20 or 21, and they survived on the prepared food their mother or a stranger would leave on the front porch each week. The mother did not leave toilet paper or personal hygiene items. While she maintained contact with the boy, officials said it appears she had not seen the girls in years, police said. Now, I want you to think about that. So, why would she not go in the house? For the obvious reason, because it's nasty. She left it that way. And it accumulated naturally with the children not having toilet paper, detergent, so on and so forth. So you're just going to go to the door and talk to your son and then what? Walk back down the stairs and go on about your damn business? This is bullshit. This is crazy as hell. Okay. So we're talking about October. The landlord decides to send authorities in to check on the people. Well, did you go through a writ for the apartment? That's what I'd like to know from the landlord. Did you file a writ for the apartment? Did you decide to take these people to court to seize the apartment? Because people are still going to say, well, why would you send authorities to the apartment if a person's not paying rent? I'm just saying. Did you file paperwork to seize the apartment for non-payment of rent? Because I'm confused with sending authorities for a welfare check. Did somebody drop a dime? They had an idea something was going on. Numerous complaints made to the landlord. Also, were there complaints made to law enforcement about this unit? Was the police ever called out to this unit? We hear the children never came out and nobody even knew the children were living there. This is strange to me because in condo situations, I don't know how many people are moving in or out of this place, but at some point somebody had to have known some children were in there because the children had to move around. They're going to make noise. They're going to be doing something in there, filthy as it is, but I'm just saying, they got to talk. This is weird to me. Once again, did the landlord file a writ for the apartment to seize the apartment? Why did he send the officers for a welfare check? I'm just curious. Okay. So once again, the landlord, they said deputies were called by the landlord Friday to perform welfare check of the occupants. And that's how they were able to see what was going on inside of the apartment. Deputies searched the home for occupants and discovered the 3 children. The girls had locked themselves in the bathroom, but opened the door when they were asked. Now imagine how bad the bathroom looked and the children were locking themselves in the bathroom. But naturally, they said the whole house looked the same. Photographs of the home show piles of debris in the home. Police described the scene as deplorable shape, garbage pile high, once again, 4 feet in some rooms, mold, human waste found throughout the house, toilet overflowing with fecal matter, and also found in the bathtub. 15-year-old and his sisters had been living alone in the home since 2021, as I stated before. The mother didn't leave them with any type of hygienic products. She only made contact with the boy, which I don't understand any of that. Evidence technician in a hazmat suit processed the scene. The row of townhouses sits on a short block that faces a complex with Oakland County friend of the court offices. On a window of one of the homes, a cease and desist notice could be seen. Neighbors told deputies they were unaware the children lived in the home and never saw them outside. Residents said they saw the mother drop things off at the home each month. Okay, so there you have it right there. If you can tell law officials you saw the mother drop off food or drop off something in a bags, you didn't find that strange. So you just thought what? Somebody elderly lived in there and she was just dropping off something? Or you thought she was DoorDash? Did anybody recognize that woman as the mother or as somebody living in the apartment? Who's going to tell us that, yes, I knew she lived, she had kids, or I knew she had kids, but I never saw the kids? Emma Gross, who lives a couple of streets away in an area of single-family homes, says she scrambled to learn more when she learned about the children found unattended in the home and in the squalid conditions. I'm told the facilities, the toilet wasn't in the home, and to use an alternative solution in your home where you're living at, she said, using the tub, it's pretty heartbreaking that the kids would have to live under those conditions. Gross, an HOA board member, said she received text messages from neighbors when the news broke. Okay, so that's another thing. This is a HOA community. So that means you have to pay a HOA fee to live in the condo. So this is what I'm trying to understand. How was she paying rent plus the HOA fee? Because the HOA fee is like $200 something a month, $200 plus a month. So how are you paying $200 plus a month and maybe $1,600 in rent, electric, gas, water? Make it make sense now. And she hasn't paid rent since October, but yet she was living somewhere else. And as you heard in this video here with the sheriff, he don't want to tell us who. He does not want to tell us where she was living. Why not? Why not tell us where she was living? All you have to do is say, well, she's living with a friend, she's living with another relative. We don't have to know their name. Somebody's going to put their ass on blast on social media any damn way. So where was she staying? In Pontiac. Where? Hotel, shelter? Where was the mother staying? I want to know. People want to know, where was she staying? Because what people are going to try to understand is she's been living away from this house for years, but paying rent up until October 2024. So how were you paying bills at the other place, but you were telling the judge years ago you couldn't afford to take care of yourself and your children? So how are you affording to pay bills somewhere else and then pay bills at this place up until 2024 of October? Make it make sense. This is bullshit. Everybody's upset about it, she said. Like, oh my God, this is right in your neighborhood. How could something like this happen to these children? How can people go living every day and not see something like this and report it sooner? She said some people tend to keep themselves and may only interact with their neighbors through posts on Neighborhood Association's Facebook page. As far as just kind of coming out, talking to each other, I don't see a lot of that, she said. Not in this section right here. The children had not attended school in that time and passed time watching television or playing games. It appeared the girls had not left the home in several years. The boys slept on a mattress on the floor and the girls slept on pizza boxes, police said. What the fuck? So you mean to tell me she's been living in this place for years? The kids didn't have beds? So did she have a bed? What's their furniture in this condo? The kids were sleeping, the girls were sleeping on pizza boxes. That's what I'm reading right here. And the brother slept on a mattress on the floor. The mother was found at a different location and arrested without incident. The woman said the father of the children was not involved in their lives according to the release. Detroit Times is the source of this information, okay? Let me find another article because I got to find the one where she's telling her story to what happened. Hold on a minute, everybody. You can hear people in apartments. Did they not have neighbors? Of course they had neighbors. I've already showed everybody what the apartments look like. So yes, they had neighbors. You had an apartment where you walk up the steps, or you had an apartment on the ground level. So you're going to hear people coming in, slamming doors, car pulling up. You're going to hear something. So this is strange to me. Okay. That's the bathroom. Imagine going in there to use the restroom, to urinate, defecate in a bathtub. And also, that's where the girls were hiding when the police showed up. Stay woke, everybody. Look at the filth on the wall. And that's probably bowel movement because they didn't have toilet paper to wipe their bottoms. You're seeing this live. This is not made up. This is real life. Now imagine an animal living in there, because we do have people who live like this in America, the UK, other parts of the world, and nobody has any idea, which I don't understand, because you can smell boo-boos. We're gonna stop this bullshit, acting like we can't smell fecal matter. Okay. I'm trying to find the article that showed her lifestyle. Hold on, everybody. Well, we now have a picture. Amen. Thank the Lord. Somebody came through. Here we go. 34-year-old Kelly Bryant, Pontiac mother, arrested for abandoning 3 children who lived in squalor for years. Get off that screen. Well, I take it these pictures are from what? Facebook? What do you all say? What say you to chat? What say you to chat? Bingo card. Come on with it, Queen. Because everybody loves to be on social media. Got to take my picture. Got to take a selfie. So let me guess, cutie pie. You're sitting here all dolled up with your lip gloss on, your lace front wig, or whatever you're wearing, and your children are living in filth. So I'm going to ask the question once again, where was this dirty ass bitch living? Yeah, I'm saying it. Because I don't feel nothing for nobody that abuses children. I don't care how you're abusing them, mental, physical, I don't care. You don't feed them, you don't clothe them. Kelly Marie Bryant, born 1/20/1991. So she's a damn kid. Let's get into the belly of the beast, everybody. Kelly Bryant was taken into custody on Friday. She's currently being held in Oakland County. Detectives expect to present the case to prosecutors in the coming days, according to Sheriff Michael Bouchard. The conditions in which the children were living in were unconscionable. Naturally, I've read all that to you all. This incident happened at the 600 block of Lydia Lane, 660 Lydia Lane, Pontiac, Michigan. 15-year-old boy, 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls. Children have been solely living on meals that the mother or unknown individual would occasionally leave on the front porch. Here, I'm going to show you a picture. They have zoomed in a picture of the bathtub. If you do not want to look at the screen, feel free to turn away. I will only show this for a brief moment. So if you want to turn away before I show the picture, I'm going to tell you to do it right now, okay? Here we go. That's the bathtub. Bathroom. I tell you, somebody took some live, like Memorex pictures, I must admit. Wow, wow, wow. Photographs from the scene reveal garbage piled up 4 feet high. Once again, toilet overflowing, fecal matter, bathtub. I'm just recapping. I'm trying to find the information about how she was living, how she came to be in this situation. Once again, we're going to show her a picture. Mugshot. Hello, prospective sweetheart. Thank you for joining me. Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant, you got some explaining to do. Why you left your children unattended. As a matter of fact, she has 4 children. That's what I'm trying to find is the article that I had previously pulled up. Hold on. Detroit Press. Let me put this. Okay. The children's father had been in jail at the time their mom abandoned them. After getting out, he got approval from a court for visits with the kids, but their mom never allowed access. Bouchard blamed gaps in the school enrollment process that allowed the children to slip through the cracks, adding the pandemic likely played a role since they were likely living alone since the spring or summer of 2020. The department was overwhelmed by the support from the community and said they did not need any more donations. Bouchard added the department hoped to find a law firm and set up a trust for the children to take care of their health and education bills. Food deliveries to the home were made by companies like Instacart and DoorDash. What we don't know. The mystery behind the mother's reason for abandoning her kids. Police plan to further investigate and have more questions for her, but said she was answering questions and her background did not indicate any mental health challenges. The prosecutor has yet to announce charges against the mom. The case revolves around 3 children found living in garbage, fecal matter, 15-year-old, 13-year-old, 12-year-old. The boys 15, the girls are 13 and 12. This is dating back to at least 2020. I'm trying to find this article about the father. The father was in prison, but he was allowed to see the children, but she wouldn't allow him to see the children. Why, I don't know. She also had attended court too. And she was explaining to the judge, I think in 2022, how she couldn't take care of herself and her kids. So we need to go back to 2022, what led her to be in court pertaining to talking about the children and her financial situation. It says, if it had been registered as a rental property, then we would have been doing periodic rental unit inspections of the property every few years, he said. Okay, so let's go back up to this right here. It says, Gramel said the owner of the home has some fault as well because he never registered the home as a rental property with the city. Wow. If it had been registered as a rental property, then we would have been doing periodic rental unit inspections every few years, he said. See, that's what I was talking about. Who owned the damn property? So now we hear that somebody by the name of Gramel owns the property. Okay. So they did put out a release for the sizes that the children wore, because I was wondering how did they get donations for clothes if they didn't know what size the children wore. So they had put that memo out. Something is still off. Something is still off pertaining to this story. And I cannot find the article that tells me about her court situation, because that's what I want to know about that issue in 2022, which led her to be in this situation in the first place. The oldest child had only gone outside twice in 5 years to fill the grass, check the mail. Why didn't relatives, friends, or a school system know that 3 Pontiac kids had been existing in what's described as absolute squalor for nearly 5 years after they were reportedly abandoned by their mother, left to live in a home with human waste throughout the garbage pile several feet high, broken toilet, and a feces-filled tub? What about the children's father? Why hadn't he intervened and saved them? Okay. As we heard from Mike Bouchard, the sheriff, it's unbelievable. 3 kids fell off everybody's map for years. Oakland County Sheriff said it's one of the most tragic long-term abusive situations I've ever seen. The disturbing scenario was uncovered last Friday. Sheriff's deputies responded to a home on Lydia Lane in the Stonegate Point Townhomes development to conduct a welfare check on request of the landlord. He was reportedly concerned about the occupants, noting the rent hadn't been paid. So that means he knew that the woman lived there with children. Okay? So once again, did he know more? Because I can't see anybody allowing someone to live on their property knowing they live like this. So what was the real reason that he sent the police? Because he wanted his rent money? So that was his way of finding out if they still were living in an apartment or not? Help me understand. Bouchard said deputies went to the home believing they were checking up on the renter, but instead found the 15-year-old boy and his sisters, ages 12, 13, living in deplorable environments. Okay. Because of a communications breakdown in the school system, the children remain unaccounted for. They were supposedly due to transfer from one school to another, but never attended, and no follow-up occurred. Bouchard is calling for state legislation to close the gaps in the school code and require verification before students are dropped from school rolls. Verification like what? What is it that you want the parents to verify when leaving the school? Where they're going? Have verification that they're moving to a certain place. So what you want them to do? Show you a piece of paper that they rented or bought a new house? 15-year-old said they got food weekly from the mother, companies like DoorDash, Instacart, but basically the children were provided just a loaf of bread every 3 to 4 days, and that was most recently. The mother was living somewhere else in Pontiac for the past several years, though Bouchard declined to elaborate, which you heard that in this video here. The 15-year-old was the only one to step out of the home during the nearly 5-year confinement, venturing outdoors just 2 times. He came out twice, once to feel the grass and the other time to check the mail. It's soul crushing in so many levels. So now you got to ask yourself, as you heard one reporter asking the sheriff about the children not coming out, why didn't they go get help? Why didn't they go get help? The 15-year-old had the sense to go out to check the mail and to touch the grass. Why not go knock on someone's door and say, hey, we need help. Hey, can I use your phone? Food, we need toilet paper, we need soap, we miss our mom, we don't know where she's at, she don't call us. So then you got to ask that. Were they provided a cell phone in the house in the past 5 years? Something is terribly wrong here. Why didn't the children go out the door? Why was it only the boy going out? Did the mother tell him he's the only one to step out or not step out? Did she also tell the children not to step out? You heard the reporter asking that question, and the sheriff told you he did not know. And you hear him saying that. He didn't know what she said specifically to the children to keep them in the home alone for so many years, but that they were scared. They were afraid to leave. Also, he said it was their reality, with the oldest sibling just 11 years old at the time they were abandoned. They had no adult contact, no benchmark. They had nothing to compare it to. Oh, Lord have mercy. The children have been checked out medically after being rescued, now living with a relative, slowly showing signs of improvement. The little girl, they said, is very talkative, which is a good sign. So what is the education status of each child? What grade level are the said children? So naturally, the children are going to be getting assessments for their physical and mental health. Who is the relative that's now taking care of the children? And where was this relative when the children were living in squalor alone? Because I have problems with somebody just throwing these kids off to somebody in the foster care system, because we've heard of foster care danger as well. The kids go to a foster care, get adopted, and they get treated just as bad as they did with the biological parents. Now you've got them living with a relative. You're talking about grandparents and aunts. So which side of the family we're talking about, the baby daddy or the mother side? And then you still got to ask, where were these people while these children were missing for 5 years? With that, you're just going to take these kids and put them with these people. But these people didn't have the sense to call fucking 911 to say, hey, we haven't seen our grandkids, we haven't seen our nieces, nephews in 5 years. I want everybody to think about that. Because I don't think it's really a good idea to go send them to another relative. That's just me personally. That's just me personally. You're going to go send them with these other people. You better make sure you have thoroughly checked these people out. Criminal background, financial status, or we'll be right back in this situation again, because you can't explain to us logically how these kids, ain't nobody called DCS on the mother to say, hey, where are your kids? You posted shit on Facebook, IG, where are your children? We don't see no pictures of them. Come on now. Let's keep it real. So, my understanding, she has 4 children. Okay? She has a total of 4. Now, only 3 were living in this apartment. The other child lived with his father, and he had been with the father for a while. Okay? For a while. And from my understanding, this father never came to this location or never brought his child to this location. I think he said he didn't even know that she was even living at this location. So, how much interaction did she have with the other child? And what is the age of the other child that this other baby daddy has custody of this other child? I think they had split custody, but he's kept the child ever since. So now we're talking about a total of 4 children came from the womb, allegedly from this woman, 3 living in squalor and 1 living with their baby daddy. And I don't believe he's the father. He's not the father of the 3 that were found in the condo. That father recently got out of prison. Where is he? What is he trying to do? Will he be able to get any type of custody of the children? And I don't recommend that either, because we've seen the horror stories of that. Baby daddies popping up wanting custody. Next thing you know, we're hearing crazy stories about the children in their custody. Not trying to be rude. People can change. I don't know what his charges were, but I'm just saying. We don't need this flim-flam stuff going on with these kids being passed around from place to place, because they're still under the age of 18. And they need stability, and they need people that are going to take care of them and love them and not be passing them around, mistreating them. Picture of the said residence. As you can see, the sign on the window, cease and desist. Strange. Right now, the children have had a lot of donations, and the financial donations have reached $15,000 to $20,000. Make it make sense how it came to be. These kids living in this type of situation. Neighbors did not know that the children were living there, never saw them outside. Only saw the mother drop things off at the home each month. Make it make sense. Children had not attended school since they were abandoned. TV, video games. It's all the children had going for themselves, living in this place. What is going to happen to this mother? Right now, they're gathering all this information. So what will the state's attorney decide to do with her? That's what I'd like to know. Sorry, everybody. What is the state going to do? State prosecutor. What are the charges going to be? What are the charges going to be? I cannot find that article that had the information about the father. So all we know is that the father went to prison. Don't know what he went to prison for, how long he was in prison. That's what I'm trying to understand. What did he go to prison for? Now, this is uploaded yesterday, which is so true. Why couldn't they smell that? Neighbor fumes over 3 kids living alone in squalor. Exactly. That's what I've been saying during this live stream. Nobody could smell boo-boo. Nobody could smell anything through the drywall. Come on now. This is BS. This doesn't make any sense. Ernest Berry says Lydia Lane is typically a quiet street where bad things rarely happen. But when they do, he says they're really, really, really bad. Now, he goes on to talk about his son witnessed a fatal shooting in the condo below his unit on the quaint Pontiac Street. He had to testify against the killer who was convicted at the trial, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then it says something about the following years were uneventful at the Village Stonegate condo community. Then came Friday's discovery of 3 children living alone. 1,300 square foot condo, which I've shown you all pictures in this live stream pertaining to the layout of the condo. He says it's mind-boggling. I can't wrap my brain around it, says Barry, who lives 10 units down from where the children were living. I wish I could have seen them walk out of the house, but he didn't see anything, says 60-year-old Barry, and apparently nobody else did either, which gnaws at Barry, who says his neighborhood is a mix of nurses, lawyers, teachers, self-employed contractors. Barry is a special education teacher looking out for vulnerable children, comes natural to him. So how, he wonders, could 3 children be living in such conditions so close by and nobody noticed? Why couldn't the neighbors smell that? I know that place had to smell really bad, said Barry, who has lived on Lydia Lane for 10 years and has lots of questions. And what about the lights, gas, water? Very good questions. Who's paying for the utilities? Once again, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 15-year-old living inside this condo. It says the condo they were in had electricity. As the children told police, they watched TV and played video games. So that's natural. So that's common sense. They had electricity because they played video games and watched TV. As for running water, it's unclear if they had any. The toilet overflowed with feces, the bathtub filled with fecal matter as well, and also in other rooms. Let's see. It says, it's all too much for Barry to process as he racks his brain, trying to remember if I'd seen the kids out walking. There's not a lot of kids over there. Well, there are 3 bedrooms. So somebody has to have some children in this apartment complex, in this condo, because most single people aren't going to buy 3-bedroom condos. Maybe 2 bedrooms, but not 3. So somebody has some children over there. He says, and did they ever go looking for help? He wonders, did they have the mental capacity to do so? Which I also asked that same question. The kids never came out, never knocked at a neighbor's door, or did they just stay in a house? Were they in that much fear, said Barry? It was kept so secret. I can't figure it out, Barry said, noting the children's plight has devastated the neighborhood. That's all they're talking about. We didn't see anything. We didn't know anything. How didn't we know? While Barry has lots of questions, he also wants to know who the mother is, and he wants to see what she looks like so he can figure out if he ever saw her. According to the sheriff's office, 34-year-old mother was arrested Friday after the children were discovered living alone. She remains jailed. Her case on Monday has handed over to the prosecutor, who will review it to determine if the woman will be charged. Throughout my extensive career in this field, I have never encountered a scenario dire, prolonged. As I've read you all that same information, just trying to skim over anything new that I have not read to you all before. Let's see. It says these details continue to torment Barry, who said he saw police cars flying down the street last Friday as he was headed to work, but not knowing what was happening. Then the next day he picked up a local newspaper. The first thing I thought was, I've never seen the kids out. I couldn't believe what was happening on Lydia Lane, said Barry, who wants the unit torn down. I was shocked. It needs to be condemned. Well, how are they going to condemn that one unit, sweetheart, when it's a building filled with condos? They're not going to tear down an entire unit because somebody was living in filth. They're just the person who owns it, he's just going to have to spend a lot of money going in there and tearing it up. He's going to spend a lot of money. You're talking about tearing down sheetrock, pulling out appliances, cabinets, flooring. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. taking off doors. You gotta take off the doors, pull up the flooring, appliances, everything's gotta go to the dumpster. Everything. And it's gonna smell to the high heaven because they're gonna have to open that damn door naturally to ventilate and start pulling all that stuff out in a big construction dumpster. And if you all played like you couldn't smell anything coming from 660 Lydia Lane, well, you're getting ready to get an eye-opening experience, baby, because it's getting ready to smell to the high heavens. Now, it's snow on the ground up there in Pontiac, but baby, let me tell you something. When they open that door, it's going to be on and popping because it's going to smell like God knows what coming out of there when they start tearing up the sheetrock and the flooring. Because naturally, he's going to have to pay somebody to go in, a crew of people to go in there and start rehabbing that apartment, one, clearing out the trash, and then tearing everything down. I mean, you're probably talking about months of construction because will it smell this bad with fecal matter, urine, trash? You're probably going to have to take everything and tear it out to the studs. So the wall that you saw walking up, that wall, that partition that separated the stairs to the living room, all that's going to have to come down because the smell is embedded in all of that. It's in the sheetrock. It's in the carpet. You're going to have to take everything down to the studs. And he'll probably sell it because he may not have that kind of money to rehab it. And he'll probably get not a lot of money for the condo because of how much money it's going to take to rehab this place. Wow, wow, wow. What are the charges going to be for this female? That's what I want to know. What are the charges going to be? Help us understand. Great looking neighborhood. Condos with 2-3 bedrooms. This condo faces trees, so you don't have to look at anybody across the street. Off-street parking. Also in the back, they have their own private garage. Garbage cans in the back, as I showed you at the beginning of this live stream. What the hell happened? How in the world did it go 5 years? No one had any knowledge that these children were living in squalor inside of one of these condos. 660 Lydia Lane, Pontiac, Michigan. Mother posting pictures to social media, but yet she doesn't show any pictures of her children, I'm sure. She couldn't because she didn't have them. She didn't have none of her children. 3 that were living in here, and the 4th one that's living with his baby daddy. Wow, wow, wow. And I don't know what to say about this landlord because you got some work to do, honey. And you probably won't get nothing for this condo unless you have a lot of money in your bank account to rehab this condo. Will the children be in a better place where they are? Who are they with? And also, where was the mother staying? And what charges will she face? Aggravated cruelty, aggravated abuse, child neglect. Will she get a slap on the wrist? Will she get a slap on the wrist? Probation for years. No access to children. What is going to happen to the mother? Now imagine whoever she was staying with. They now see how her children were living. So how was she living at this person's house? Stay woke, everybody. Because you had to You're filthy to leave your children in this filth, and more than likely you were filthy living with your children. Stay woke. I'm supposed to believe she was a clean person before all of this happened. She just woke up one day and said, I can't do this. I'm checking out. I'm going to leave my kids here alone to defend for themselves. And I'm just going to go do my thing and stay wherever. I'm going to dress up, wear lace front wigs and lip gloss and post selfies like I'm single, no children. My thing is, when was she ever going to clean this act up with these kids? When was she going to be a mother to these kids? She had to have known this could not last forever. The fact that it went on this long, 4 years, 4 to 5 years, this is crazy. Because COVID was March of 2020, if you all remember. Jog your memories back. So you're talking about coming up 5 years or longer. The children had no mother, no interaction with the outside world, no appropriate living skills, going to school, proper hygiene, access to a toilet, bathtub, running water, baths, hair wash, hair done, clean clothes, love. They had no love. Because as the sheriff said, she could have placed the children in foster care or with another relative. And so see, this is why I keep saying you have to be very careful about giving other people temporary custody of children coming out of situations like this, because if she didn't think to take her kids to the state and place them up with the state, okay, why she didn't go to the same relative that the state took the kids to? See, this makes no sense. You want to take them to go live with some other relative, but she didn't think to go take the same kids to a relative? Make it make sense now. And where were these relatives when these children were living in this squalor as of a week ago? Put it together. Because somebody knew she didn't have her kids, and the fact that nobody called Department of Human Services is bullshit. So I want to know who these children are staying with right now and what is their role in this nonsense. So while everybody is acting like they're so surprised and shocked, you all better do due diligence checking them damn relatives out. Because they knew she had 4 kids and she's posting pictures of herself without her children. And nobody called the state. Nobody called the state. Nobody called the state to say, hey, yeah, I know where she's living. She ain't never got her kids. You all need to go check her out. Hey, you need to go over there to that Lydia Lane street. That's where she was last living. Ding, ding, ding. I'm woke. Are you all woke? Because this is bullshit. So now we're supposed to believe in 5 years or more, nobody knew she lived over there with Lydia Lane. Nobody knew she moved there with her kids. Nobody's questioning her where her kids are. Nobody's questioning why she's on social media without her kids. School system, broke. Neighbors, don't get the hell where they're coming from. You don't smell shit. There are too many irons in the fire pertaining to this story, and there are too many people who had some knowledge that something wasn't right with this female, landlord, schools, the neighbors, family members, friends, associates of this chick. Somebody knew something. Because as it has been said time and time again, with dirty homes, trailers, you can smell the stench before you even get to the door. So I'm going to say this again. How is it that the neighbors living in the condo nearby, below her, beside her, didn't smell the filth coming through the wall? So as I said earlier, if you want to play crazy and say, oh, I never smelt anything, well, you're going to smell it now because that place is going to have to be cleaned up. So all that shit's getting ready to come out of there, literally. And you can go run to social media and tell that. about what you saw coming out of the apartment. And I'm sure some of you are going to go live on your phones to give us the 411 of what's pulled out of this damn apartment. This is BS, and you all know it. And my fear is that somebody knew that these children were in danger and they said nothing. So I have a problem with anybody getting custody or temporary custody of these children that are related to this mother. Now, maybe the father's parents, they don't know anything, their relatives, that's different. But her family, yeah, I got a problem. So I'm hoping that nobody related to her has these children. And I'm not trying to judge everybody related to her, but I'm just saying, if you're watching her on social media, you know she had 4 kids. You knew she had 4 kids. And you don't see none of these kids in any of her photographs. Bail should have been going off to, hey, we might need to call Department of Human Services because why is she not posting these kids? Come on now. This is BS. This is my commentary, everybody. I'll be back a little later with more commentary. Breaking news. Still updating you all on the story out of Georgia. The couple who went missing on Lake Oconee. The African-American female was found floating, I believe that was Monday, and the male has not been discovered. They're still searching for his body in the lake. United Cajun Navy is stepping in to help aid the search on the lake. When I get more information or an update, I'll bring you that story. And I've also brought you content pertaining to Jay-Z. The lawsuit against him and P. Diddy has been dropped. Wendy Williams went to see her father. They've got pictures of her out to eat. Then they're saying there was alcohol on the table, more nonsense. I didn't see anything in front of her plate. There were, some other glasses and maybe 2 other green bottles of something on the table, but they weren't right in front of her plate. All I can say is I pray she wasn't drinking when she went out to eat, and you'd be a fool to give her something to drink. And whoever is supposed to be watching her on the trip, you would be a fool to allow her to drink, knowing she's trying to fight for her guardianship. So I don't know how true that accusation is, but that's the latest developments pertaining to Wendy Williams, Jay-Z, P. Diddy, and also now, I just read last night, there is now another allegation against Sean Puffy Combs. Another one. One just got dropped on Friday, which was against him and Jay-Z. Now somebody else is bringing forward an allegation. It's just a whirlwind of SHIT pertaining to Puffy. It's never going to stop. Will these people get vindication? Money? Don't know, but it's a hot butter mess. He goes to trial in May of this year. Lord have mercy. Follow the Queen on the News Breakout. I give similar commentary and content over there. Download the app on your phone and put in your location, and you'll get the latest developments in your neck of the woods and around the globe. And if you'd like to donate to this great network, $Big Angie, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you all so much for listening to this content this morning. Prayers for these children and justice for them. And I also pray that the mother, she goes to jail, that she does not get a slap on the wrist, prison preferably, because she's done this for years. So she does not need to get a slap of just community service, a couple of 100 hours of community service and restitution. No, because what everybody needs to be asking is this. She stopped paying rent in October, right? Does she work? I meant to ask that. Does she have a job? Does she have a car? Who has she been living with? What's her highest grade of education? Does she have any mental issues, mental problems, schizophrenia, bipolar, depression? Why did she turn these kids over to somebody, the state? What's going to happen to the mother? What is her excuse going to be to why she got herself in this situation with these kids? And another thing, why are you still having babies when you realize you had no help from the baby's father or relatives? Why would you continue to have children? Because that's the one thing the sheriff didn't mention in his commentary about alternatives. You don't have to keep putting children in foster care and adoption if you close your legs. How about that? Because in the end, or shall we say the beginning, it starts with the mother, it starts with the father. Men need to use condoms and women need to use contraceptives and condoms as well. You need to offer the man a condom. You need to take the birth control, IUD, the shot. You need to do something. Handing them over to the state is not the answer. Most places do not have enough places to house children in foster care. So an easy fix is keeping your legs closed. You have one child, you have no friends, no help, no family. Why would you go get knocked up with baby number 2? Now, you got baby number 2. What will possess you to go get baby number 3? It's a vicious cycle. So to go to court and say, oh, I need help. Oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, I'm overwhelmed. Stop having kids. Nobody is putting a gun to these women's heads to get pregnant, nor these guys. You all are just to blame because it takes 2 to tango. So you know you don't want to be a father. You know you don't want to take care of children. Then you need to stop putting your penis inside of women. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Strap up. Everybody needs to strap up. You don't want to be a parent, then you strap up and you take the birth control pill. That's the remedy. Not foster care, not adoption, not relatives, not friends, not strangers. You have control over your body parts. So this is a I problem. This should not be a community problem, law official problem, state problem. It is time for people to stop having kids. You know you don't want them. You know you don't have help. Why do you keep making them? This is atrocious. It's got to stop. Thank you for your time. You've been listening to the Vault XL.